My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And today is December 25th, so I'm going to do a Christmas show. I have a lot of shows lined up. None of them made sense to do today, so I decided to do a quick little show today. I've got about 17 people downstairs waiting for me to take part in a party. But I've been doing a show averaging one a week for the last 12 years. And so today, I'm not going to break that streak. So let's do it. Let's do a Christmas show. Makes sense. One of the things I find really interesting is, should we be teaching about Santa Claus as a human, or should we teach Santa Claus as a myth and what he stands for? One of the reasons why I'm thinking about this is because I've been doing a lot of reading. And what I've found out is that Generation Z is much more likely now to not want to teach their kids about Santa Claus. And I found that a little bit disturbing, so I wanted to look into this a little bit more of what would be the reasoning behind this, and give them a chance. Young people are young, why not? You can be rebellious, come up with your own ideas, maybe you're right. So let's look into this. So let's look at some of the reasons why it seems like Generation Z, and I'm not saying all of them, I'm just saying more than any other generation now, that they don't want to teach their kids about Santa Claus, whether it's the person or whether it's what he stands for. So number one, they say that they don't want to lie to their kids. Okay, I think that makes sense. I don't think anybody's going to say, hey, it's a good thing, you need to lie to your kids. So let me buy into that one. Although I think when we're talking about lying to your kids, I don't think that's really a big thing, but let's move on from that. Let's give him that. So number two, they said it could be very traumatic when they learn the truth that Santa Claus is not real. Let's look at the word traumatic. Okay, we're in the year 2023, moving almost into the year 2024. I think we're overusing the word traumatic. When we're looking at traumatic, we're looking at things like car accidents, major illnesses, physical abuse, psychological abuse, sexual abuse. These things are traumatic. Relational abuse in families. Okay, I get all that. But we're starting to use traumatic now when somebody learns that the Easter Bunny doesn't exist, or the Tooth Fairy doesn't exist, or now Santa Claus doesn't exist. I think we're really pushing the envelope here of what traumatic actually means. And I think there's a bunch of people that have come back from the wars and stuff like this that have seen heavy combat. They're sitting there looking, going, what is this society doing now? Saying that we're lying about Santa Claus, so that's traumatic. So I think that's a little ridiculous, to be honest with you. Let's look at the number three reason why Generation Z is more likely to not want to tell their kids about Santa Claus. And I have noticed this too, by the way, because I have talked to some people throughout the years, and I do notice this trend. It comes from a very self-serving place. It's that these parents want full credit for spending the money on their child's gifts. In other words, somehow buying gifts for their children is a burden, and they want the kids to know for sure that who's paying the bill for these gifts. It's like they don't have this ability to say, well, it's Santa Claus, and just sit back and be happy for their kids, with this overflowing fun and joy and imagination of this happening. No, they want to kill all that because they want to say, hey, look, I'm the one paying for all this. Let me get you into reality right now, as if, reality is not going to hit you soon enough already. Now, as we go back to, do we want to teach kids about Santa Claus as a real human or just the myth? We also have to realize this too, is that Santa Claus is actually based off of Saint Nicholas. Saint Nicholas was a living, breathing human being. He was born in the year 270, and he went to the Council of Nicaea in the year 325. So we're looking he was about 55 years old when he was invited to the Council of Nicaea, and he was a very important person there. For those who don't know, and it's okay not to know, the Council of Nicaea was a group of leaders in the Christian churches all around the world. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to address the discrepancies that were happening in the Christian church, because different churches were teaching different things. Now, of course, this still happens today, but at the time, they really wanted everybody to have more of a uniform way of teaching. For example, at the Council of Nicaea, including St. Nicholas, who was Santa Claus. He had a lot to do with saying that the birth of Jesus should be celebrated on December 25th. He also had a lot to say about the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity was debated among the people at the Council of Nicaea. This wasn't something for the first 325 years that was expected that everybody did. This had to be taught. And then from there, it was taken out among the world through the people who were at this council. So St. Nicholas was a very important human being in our society. Actually, one of the most important people that ever existed. So as we teach about Santa Claus, again, do we want to talk about him as a person? Because we can do that through St. Nicholas, just like I did. Or if that's something that you don't want to lie to your kids because there's not a real Santa Claus, we could teach about what he stood for. And one of the things that St. Nicholas actually did, which you could say that he stood for and still goes on today, is that he did care a lot about children. He did care about their welfare. He did give out a lot of gifts. He did give out money. As a matter of fact, the people or the children who left their shoes outside their residences, every shoe he saw, he would fill them with coins. He would fill them with money. So there is a background here of, you say, well, if you put your stockings up, St. Nicholas will fill the stockings. Because he actually did that. Not with stockings, but he did it with children's shoes. So, is Santa Claus real? Yes. I mean, that's the obvious answer. The answer is yes. So with that, let me give you a quick little story that I'm going to read. The story includes two people. It's a father and his son. It starts off like this with his son. The son says, "Dad, I think I'm old enough now. Is there a Santa Claus?" Dad says, "Okay, I agree that you're old enough, but before I tell you, I have a question for you. You see, the truth is a very dangerous gift, and once you know something, you can't unknow it. Once you know the truth about Santa Claus, you will never again understand and relate to him the way you do now. So my question is, are you sure you want to know?" After a brief pause, son says, "Yes, I want to know." The dad says, "Okay, I'll tell you. Yes, there is a Santa Claus." Son says, "Really?" Dad says, "Yes, really. But he's not an old man with a beard and a red suit. That's just what we tell kids. You see, kids are too young to understand the true nature of Santa Claus. So we explain it to them in a way that they can understand. The truth about Santa Claus is that he's not a person at all. He's an idea. Think of all those presents Santa gave you over the years. I actually bought those myself, and I watched you open them. And did it bother me that you didn't thank me? Of course not. In fact, it gave me great pleasure. You see, Santa Claus is the idea of giving for the sake of giving, without thought of thanks or acknowledgement. When I saw that woman collapse on the subway last week and called for help, I knew that she'd never know who it was, and that it was actually me that summoned the ambulance. And I was being Santa Claus when I did that." Son says, "Oh." Father says, "So now that you know, you are a part of it. You have to be Santa Claus too. And that means you can never tell a young kid that secret. And you have to help us select Santa's presents for them. And most important, you have to look for opportunities to help people. Do you understand?" And the son says, "Yes." I I just wanted to leave you with that today. I'm going to go downstairs for a party. Merry Christmas.